How we doing, folks? Welcome back to the Nightmare Cabin. It's been quiet last couple of days, isn't it? But I can assure you all, I have been working on stuff in the background. There's going to be a few reviews coming up in the next couple of days. I've just been doing loads of listening. Basically, I've got a lot of albums pre-ordered, a couple in the post which I've been listening to, and I want them here so I can show them off and do the review properly. So a lot of prep work basically has been going on the last couple of days, and we're going to be. I've also got an interview with Joey Vera. That's in the can, but the record label has said to sit on it for a few weeks until the live album's actually out. So that'll be going up in a few weeks. But in the next couple of days, I'll be doing a couple of different album reviews. And then hopefully Tuesday night, we'll be back doing Maiden Cast as usual. But anyway, today we are talking about death metal, or UK, most importantly, death metal, Stewards, Cancer. And we are looking at these new reissues from Peaceville Records. They were reissued by Cyclone Empire in 2014. And, I think we've got the definitive editions here. So I'll be showing these off and talking about them as we go along. What can you say about Cancer? I mean, they were there, weren't they, really? When death metal was still brewing and forming, and it was that, 1990 was that umpteenth year when it was all kicking off, really. And these guys were right in the thick of it when it did go off. 1990, the first album, To the Gory End, This was produced by Scott Burns, but they actually flew Scott Burns to England to do the recording, and then he went home and mixed it there. Then Death Shall Rise. The band managed to get a budget together to go to America and actually record with Scott Burns in the famous Morrisound Studios. Glenn Benton turned up and did backing vocals on the opening track. And of course, as we all know, the legendary James Murphy of Death, Obituary at the time, and then would go on to do Testament and a load of other projects as well as production work. He went on to do the leads on this album. Went on to do a bit of touring with the band as well. Never fully a full member though, but you get the gist. And then The Sins of Mankind. So this kind of makes up an unholy trinity, really, of the original run of the band. This has always been a favourite of the three for me, actually. To the Gory End, what a classic album cover. That's the image from the Dawn of the Dead. So you've got these nice little slip cases. You've got various extras on these. Some, it varies. You get some more than others, but we'll go through them as well. Pretty basic, this booklet, really. You just get the lyrics. Nothing too mad going on this one. But it's worth, basically, when it comes to reissues, I suppose the main question is, if I've got this album, is it worth getting again? Well, at the time when I ordered these were $8.99 each, so it's all three of them for under a tenner. I don't know if that's gone up now they're available. Sometimes albums are a bit cheaper when they're on pre-order and they shoot up. I don't know what the case is with that. But this is worth getting because you get a second disc and you get their 1989 demo. There's one song on here, Our Fate, which I don't think was re-recorded, unless it was reassembled as another song. But all the rest of them were re-recorded for the album. But it's just nice to have that raw, that more dirty feeling to the demo. Funnily enough, we'll come to it, but who was it? I think the person who recorded it, I think, was Motorhead's sound guy, and the guy that run the studio is now in AC/DC or something like that. I'll come to it in a minute when I speak about it. But yeah, fantastic album though. I mean, if that is worth. It's nice, well presented, it's remastered and all that good stuff. Plus, you get the 1989 demo. It is previously available, but how easy it is to get hold of, I don't know. So for $8.99, which is what I paid for it, it's worth, I think, reinvesting in. For those of you that don't know the band, this is a classic piece of death metal and essential to the UK's death metal canon. It's not the most original of albums, but executed wonderfully. When it's done properly, you don't need it to be original. It's nice and raw. It's nice and dirty. It's catchy. It's full of riffs. It's full of hooks. It's perfectly paced. It knows when to blast and shred and be nice and fast. Then it knows to slow right down and throw in a bit of groove. John Tardy from Obituary does backing vocals on the last track, Die Die. And as much as it's think more of like any good debut album from death metal, think Scream Bloody think of in the realm of sort of Scream Bloody Gore by Death, the first Obituary album, bloody hell, what's it called? Slowly We Rot. Nice basic nasty death metal the way you like it, nice and gory, nasty sounding, but it's not a one-dimensional album by any stretch of imagination. There's clean parts, there's a lot of little acousticy interludes here and there, just nice little touches of atmosphere on tracks. I think To the Gory End and Die Die, I believe. I think it's them too. Yeah, you get some keyboards at the beginning, so it's there's definitely little layers added and stuff added, to give it a bit more atmosphere. Witch Hunt as a blazing solo. Imminent Catastrophe. It's nice thrashy, but slows down to a nice doomy part as well. And it's just 9 songs of just classic, just straight up honest death metal, really. It's just fantastic stuff. Each song just bleeds into the next. It's 34 minutes, and it's just an effortless 34 minutes, really. And it's just got that whole atmosphere of a nasty B movie being played late at night. Just good gory fun, and it's a favourite of mine. Coming up is the famous one, Death Shall Rise. I do love that album cover, as cheesy as it is. It's that perfect balance, isn't it, between cheesy and awesome. Now this one is the sort of the golden one, really. So yeah, you've got that classic artwork on the slipcase, band cover on the back. Now this one, you get everything thrown in. So this one you get on the disc too, and I think this is the main one to get. So yeah, if you do have the album, this definitely is worth reinvesting in, because on disc 2 you get Live at Wrexham Memorial Hall in Wales, 1990, and James Murphy is on this gig. So you get a full gig with James Murphy on lead guitar. We get in a little intro. It's 10 song set list, but 9 first tracks an intro. And also you get an interview with the band with the almighty Dom Lawson. So there you go. You get a full gig. Start that again, shall I? You get a full disc, a full gig on disc 2, plus an interview with the band, plus the cool artwork. It's all remastered, all lovely, and yeah, again for $8.99 you can't go wrong. So if you've not got this album, definitely get it. And if you do have it, I think it's worth reinvesting in. Now, this is Cancer's most famous album. For reasons I mentioned earlier, you got actually recorded in Morrisound, so you got, much like with Napalm Death doing Harmony Corruption, you got a British band going over to America and recorded in that famous studio. You got Glenn Benton doing the vocals, some backing vocals. You got James Murphy doing guitars. So the production's up a notch. The budget, I suppose, is up a notch. The artwork is definitely up a notch. And yeah, like it goes without saying, James Murphy's lead and solos over it does bring things up a notch, but at the same time, I still prefer To the Gory End. It's got to be said. I'm going to use the Terminator analogy here. I suppose I could say this is the better album. I'm just saying To the Gory End is my favourite, and Terminator 2 is objectively better than Terminator 1, but I always preferred Terminator 1, and I do kind of feel if Terminator 1 had Terminator 2's budget, it would probably be the famous one. Let's clear up what I just said. Yeah, not my head, Metallica. Here we go. I knew Big Mac, Metallica's sound man, and I asked him about a studio when he said we should go and see his mate at the Pits in Birmingham, which is Stevie Young's studio, and now he's in AC/DC, obviously. So yeah, that's the people that recorded their demo. So yeah, pretty cool interview, pretty informative, pretty cool little story. You know, it says it's quite funny. One of them had a barbecue, and David Vincent from Morbid Angel was at their barbecue, and he said like at the time it wasn't even a big deal, like, and then you know Morbid Angel can't be huge. And it's like, yeah, that guy was in my garden. You know, that's quite funny. But yeah, I mean, it's still. Don't get me wrong. This is far from a wet lettuce. I'm not saying just because Tori Gorian's my personal favourite, don't mean to say that this is a bad album by any stretch of imagination. It's regarded as a classic, and to many, it is their best album. And yeah, I won't argue. Just saying that's my, you know, just saying that's my personal preference. But yeah, it's got everything you want. You know, like I just said earlier, better production and all the rest of it. But yeah, I don't know. I just find the first album just sort of just speaks to me more, really. But you know, you got classics on here: Hung, Drawn, and Quartered, Tasteless Incest, Death Shall Rise. That is a fucking good song. Gruesome Task. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Don't get me wrong. But and like I say, I think these are essential anyway. Especially for you know, if you got a special place in your collection for UK metal, and then right, so they didn't go back to a 3-piece. No, I've got that muddled up. On the fourth album, The Sins of Mankind, we now have a new guitarist, Barry Savage. I forgot to tell you, yeah. So it's John Walker on vocals and guitar, Ian Buchanan on bass, and Carl Stokes on drums. That's been the lineup the whole time. Just on the second album, James Murphy jumps on board to do lead guitars, and then on the third album, they had a fourth guitarist added, Barry Savage, and then they did, which I think this is actually the band's masterpiece. As much as I love To the Gory End and Death Shall Rise is famous and considered a classic for a reason, I think this is the underrated album, and I think this is actually. I think this probably is their best album. I mean, I love Gory End's my favourite for its charm. It's a great debut album, and it's got that great sort of horror movie theme to it. But like I say, I think if you take an image from a famous zombie film to an image of classic art, that's the difference musically as well. It's much more focused. It's much more well-rounded. It's much more mature. Yeah, I don't like that word either, but it's the best way to describe it, really. And this is just 34 minutes of just pure metal glory, really. Who is the cover painting Armageddon Revelations by Joseph Elliott Petit? I don't know. I always get funny when I read people's names. I always get worried that I'm mispronouncing them. But yeah, this again though. This is just it just plays itself again. I mean, all of three of these albums about 34 minutes. They do. There's not an ounce of fat on any of them. They all get straight to the point, so to speak. But the riffs on this just fucking. The band just sounds so fucking tight. It's just so relentless, and there's melody. There's perfect little pacing. So nothing out. The songs are constantly moving along. It's, you know, there'll be a nice thrashing riff, but then there'll be a nice groovy bit. Again, there's hooks. Then there's, you know, there's melodic acoustic sections, and it just all just comes together. The band are just on fire. And Carl Stokes is all over the drum kit on this. The riffs are here, there, and everywhere. There's time signatures. You know, I find what sort of Death Shall Rise lacked a little bit. This is got in spades, and you know, it all just blazes past. You've got bands like songs like Patchwork Destiny and Meat Train,
At the end as well, it's got a nice little acoustic bit. I mentioned that earlier. You've got the flop. It's a bit more of a thrashy, bit more of a sort of roaring urgency more to this one. And I think this walks the line really between sort of the heavier end of thrash and death metal. But yeah, you've got a 2-part epic as well. What's it called? Tribal Bloodshed Part 1 and 2 at the end. That just closes things off nicely. And again, that just sort of shows you how far the band had come at that. But yeah, I think this is a criminally underrated album. And yeah, I think this was the crown achievement out of the trilogy, actually. So this is my favourite for good gory fun. Not knocking it, it is a classic, but out of the three, I tend to go for the thing. So yeah, your nice gory, nasty, hook fun album at the beginning. Your breakthrough album, a fan favourite to many, so still worth your time. And the underrated gem at the end. There's no extras on this, so all you get is the slipcase. So if you do already have the album, you might not need this one, but you definitely might want to reinvest in these two. This one for the demo, and this one for the full gig. Plus, with this one, you get an interview. So definitely reinvest in this one and this one. This one, not as much. But if you don't have any of them and you're new to the bands, then all three are essential. And yeah, that's my sum up of the Cancer reissues. I mean, there's the later period of the band as well. What was it called? Black Faith, and then Spirit in Flames. I think less said about those albums, the better. I think. Well, put it this way: if Cancer did a gig tonight, how many songs would they play off those albums? I think we'll leave it at that. But then last year, 2018, they put out a new album, Shadow Gripped. I listened to that when it first came out at the time, and Maz from Blasphemer, he did rave about the album when it came out, and I did listen to it once or twice at the time. I think I might have found it on YouTube or something like that, and I remember sort of it not really doing much for me. But with that being said, after re-listening to these and listening to this gig and yeah, getting reacquainted with these 3 albums this week, it's made me want to dive in again, actually. So yeah, I'm gonna be listening to Shadow Gripped again in the next couple of days, and getting reacquainted with it, and then maybe Payday picking up a copy again. So it's definitely re-sparked my interest in the band. So yeah, Cancer, Peaceville Records. I'll leave a link to the shop in the comments section, not in the description, sorry. And yeah, definitely pick these up. They're well worth your time. And thank you very much for watching. I'll be back hopefully tomorrow, and the next couple of days I'll be doing some album reviews, and then when a few more things start turning up, I'll be reviewing them as well. So sorry it's been quiet the last couple of days, but more stuff to come, not to worry. So yeah, thanks a lot everyone for watching, and yeah, keep listening to metal, and I'll see you all soon.